Hello, everyone. My name is Beverly Knox Davis, and thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the A Brighter Day Outreach podcast. We are super excited today because we're going to talk a little bit about real estate and what that means, especially for the Black community. So today we have Nasir El-Arabi. I
Yes,
still butchered it.
close enough.
Say
It's
it
cool.
again for me.
Nasar El-Arabi.
Arabi. Arabi.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Does it
Thank you,
have a
though.
meaning?
Yes, Nasser means victorious, and El-Arabi is just an Arabic name. I was born Muslim. So,
Okay. All
yeah.
right. So I knew I was going to do that. Even I didn't practice, y'all, and I still did it. So, but we welcome you today. You are just an amazing sensation when it comes to, because even when I was told about who, I was like, wait a minute, I have watched this young man on Instagram and took notes, and I had no clue. And then here you are today. So I think nothing happens by accident. And we are super excited to have you here today. So tell us about who you are and just a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into how you became the just amazing person that you are with so much wisdom, y'all. Wisdom. So I'll just be quiet right now.
All right, so I'm Nasser El-Arabi, grew up in New Jersey. And grew up in New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey, in the East Orange area, so North Jersey. And all my life, I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Mother was a school teacher. She went to North Carolina Central.
Oh, my alma mater.
Oh!
See, we learning some more stuff today, y'all.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
What a
she
wonderful woman. She made it.
so she was Central alumni. My father's from she's from Lumberton, North Carolina. My father's from Candor, North Carolina.
Okay.
Both from small towns, and apparently they moved up to New Jersey. I guess post civil rights because all the opportunity was up north at that time. And so me and my sister were born in Jersey. Unfortunately, I lost my mother in 97 when I was 14. And we lost her. And but I just, she planted some seeds in me because she was a school teacher. She's planted some seeds in me. Education starts at home, that whole thing.
Yes, yes.
Now, not gonna lie, in high school, I wasn't the best student. I had a 1.8 GPA. Struggled all through college. Took me 4 schools and 6 years to get my bachelor's degree. I was just fortunate. My father just instilled in me as a kid, just never quit, never give up.
That's right.
So that's what I did. Now, how I got into real estate when I was 19 years old, overheard my father talking to his friend that our neighbor sold his house to an investor for 150, and my father knew the investor, and so it was 150. The investor put 20 into it and sold it for 270. So here it is. I'm a 19-year-old kid. I'm like, wait, hold on.
Wait. Let me
Hold on.
get in on
So
that.
yeah, I don't know anything about realtor commissions, closing costs, none of that. I'm just counting. Wait, 100,000. I need to do one house a year, and I'll be straight for life. So that's all I'm thinking about. And me being 19, of course, I go ask my father, who didn't do real estate, hey, so how to get into real estate? And he was like, hey, go talk to my friend. He'll fix your credit. So I was 19. I didn't have any credit. You know what I mean? And
Right.
growing up, I didn't know what credit was, okay, back then, because I did a semester at Wilberforce University in Ohio, which is the first private black institution. And they would get these these credit card letters in the mail.
Okay.
And when people would check the mailbox, they would open it up and they act like they hit the lottery. Man, I got $400. Visa gave me four. They would say they gave them, so I think that they gave it to them. So they, take their friends to the mall, go shopping, girlfriend, boyfriend, eat. Everybody gets something, right? Even if it's some food, right? Everybody gets something, right? So I found out after I left there and my father never explained to me credit. He would just randomly yell at me to never mess up my credit. I ain't know what the hell he was talking about, but whatever it was, I ain't gonna mess it up. So
Okay.
went to his friend, got my his friend basically told me, oh, get a Capital One card, go to a department store, get your deodorant, your lotions, your Vaseline, pay it off. I did that, so I had like a 7+ credit score all through my 20s. I bought my first house at 24 to flip. Me and my friend, we lost 7,000 apiece in New Jersey. And 2008, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Wow. And that's how it all started.
That's how it all started, man. And I'm sure you heard the term where immigrants said they got to America and it was like the streets were paved with gold. That's how I felt when I first seen Charlotte. When
Okay.
I first seen Charlotte, I said, what? And then, it was a situation whereas, and like, I'll say this, it was as if the black people were sitting back, lax, and just letting the white guys own all the properties. And I'm talking about in areas that were like 95 to 100% black.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I'm like, what in the world? So I was like, oh yeah, they go, okay, I got some of this. And
Yeah, this is a gold
yeah,
mine.
yeah, this is a gold mine. So y'all just gonna sit back and y'all okay with paying back then it was 350, 450 rent.
Yeah.
So that
A
got people
long time ago, y'all.
so that got people comfortable, with that low rent gets people comfortable, thinking it's never gonna go away, so they ain't wanna own. And I bought my first rental property. My first job down here was $10 an hour. I bought my first rental property in Hidden Valley, making it was $42,000. It was 42,000. The mortgage was 350. I rented it out for 750.
Wow. That's what's up
So that
right
was the
there.
start of it.
Okay. All right. And you have this saying that you are not a guru, but you're a duru. Explain that to us.
All right, yeah. So online, I go by the Real Estate Doru, Doru, and I'm not a guru. I'm a Doru because I actually do this business. See, the reason why I came up with that was back in like 2012, around that time, 2011, 2012, because at that time, you went on YouTube. Social media wasn't a big thing, but you went on YouTube and it was like the majority of black folks on YouTube talking real estate were whitewashed. And it was just fake and watered down.
Okay.
And it was just like so sales gimmicky. So I was like, I want to come with something real, man. This is just fake. So I just a friend actually came up with the name, and we talked about. He came up with the name, and I just took it and ran with it, and took it and ran with it, and eventually got it trademarked years later. And yeah, so I've been the real estate guru.
Okay. So when you say, it was, whitewashed and, gimmicky, tell us some of the things that you saw so that it helps those that, you see those ads, they pop up all the
All
time
the
and,
time.
and everybody's like, "Ooh, I think I want to do this." And then you read the comments and you're like, "Ooh, maybe I don't want to do this."
Correct.
So tell us what to look for when it comes to those types of things that you saw that were like, nah, this is not the way to go. This is not how it should be.
It was just all good news, all good news. But when I say whitewash, it was more so like this. And I'm from New Jersey, and I know down south, I was raised different, but it was just more this yes sir, no sir mentality to massa, and they would try to align themselves with a white audience, even though they wouldn't get a white audience, and they would try to appear to be that,
Okay.
and they weren't their true authentic selves.
Okay. Being true and authentic. So
Yeah.
that was what was missing and what you were, yeah.
That
what you
was
were-
definitely what was missing. That's being true and authentic. They would, it was just, and when they tried to be black, you ever seen like a non-black just a non-black try to use slang or it's just out of place or what? Like it was just like corny stuff that they would do,
Okay.
like boom shakalaka. Like no one says boom shakalaka since like the last like 30 years. That was 30 years ago, early 90s that NBA Jam came out and we said boom shakalaka. But that wasn't it was just so like whitewash. I was like, let me come something real, and that's what I did. But as far as what they should be looking for, just looking for authenticity. But the most important thing, make sure whoever you make sure whoever you following behind does deals, does their own deals.
Mm.
And I'm really out here in the market and I really own things. I really do what I say I do. So just make sure that they're doing that because it's easy to follow a fraud.
Ooh. I think that in itself says a lot right there. It's easy to follow a fraud. And they make it seem very authentic, and it really is not. So, in other words, do your homework, everybody.
Yeah.
Make sure that you are following the right people to bring in that additional income, or if it might be your first source of income if that's what you are aspiring to do. So there's this thing called gentrification. The word is used a lot.
Yeah.
And I see here in the Hoskins community, onesie twosie, and then I started, you know, having my own thing to share with those that were coming in and doing the gobble up. But I also had to do this from a different angle too, which was educate the people. When grandmama and them start passing on, don't just sell your house for just this little ounce of money. Let's be smart about the real estate. Let's talk to those that are keeping the homes affordable in this area and may also help put some money in the family's pocket, but not where it's going to be flipped around. You gave it away for say 100K, and then they turn around and they charge 350, which I've seen that happening quite a bit.
Yeah.
So there are onesie twosie spots here in this area. And then we have one guy that, he wasn't the best landlord, but he ended up owning 50 properties. He just one by one. And then next thing you know, he could like gobble up the entire area or shut down everybody. So we really had to move very quickly. And I'm very grateful to the West Side Community Land Trust for helping us with the majority of those properties. So my question to you is, from a gentrification perspective, what advice could you give someone that's a community leader that's attempting to educate, that, wants everyone to understand the whole process? And ultimately, if we allow this to continue to happen, guess what? None of us will be here anymore. And so, when I was little, I came into this area and it was predominantly white. And then once we started trickling in, the white families started to move out. So by the time my mom was able to purchase a home, there were only two white families left in this particular neighborhood. And then next thing you know, it just over the years became almost 100%. And then it was more of the ones that had the trailer park areas. You might see a blend and things like that. So what's your advice that you could help us to educate and to understand what gentrification means and how we go forward with making sure that we don't allow our neighborhoods to be taken over by people that don't even live here? They're, California, wherever else. So,
Yeah. And let me say this: when you see that happens, these houses they go for 100 and they sell for 300, 350. That investor literally has to put about 80 to 100 into these houses. So there's a risk being taken into these small houses to get them to upgrade everything that needs to be upgraded. So there's a risk essentially he's taking and putting it on the market.
or she.
He or she is taking and putting it on the market. And it's as far as the gentrification, my philosophy is you're not going to stop it unless you do an overall plan of like the West Side Trust did. That will slow them investors down. That'll slow them down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody wants to deal with the historic commission. And the what's that, the West McCormick's, I think McCory
Oh, yeah.
behind they did the historic thing,
Yes.
and that will discourage person because your build cost and your renovation cost goes up so high when you have to deal with the historic commissions on that outside, getting wooden windows, getting all this to keep everything historic. Your cost goes up a lot, and a lot of investors are just not willing to deal with the historic commission. But I just think as far as you is what it is educating. But unfortunately, when grandma passed or mommy and daddy passed, I got a house in out there in the university area somewhere. I have no emotional attachment. My friends are at one point all grown and they living their lives or they getting high somewhere. Hey, I just go sell this, and
Hmm.
start over. It's just some things that I think that as a community leader, you can put yourself out there and say, hey, listen, maybe I know an investor or two that may be interested before you sign the contract. Just let us,
Hmm.
get a crack at it. But that's what I would have to say because with gentrification like this when I got down here in 2008, from 2008 probably up until like 2016, you could probably get these houses in here for like 20, 30K
Yeah.
easily.
Yes.
And it was a lot of drug activity in these areas.
That's very true.
And the sad thing, this is what I don't like about gentrification. This is us. This is what I don't like, right? So when I come into the neighborhood, I let's say I moved in. We don't care about throwing trash in front of my house.
Ooh.
We don't care about sitting on the curve in front of my house or if I got a brick wall in front of my house. We don't care about sitting there hanging out. Soon as a white man moves in, they won't litter.
Hmm.
They won't sit on this property.
That's true.
They won't. So there's some issue, and I'm not saying with all black people. This is a mentality that you find in lower income neighborhoods. They
Right.
just when somebody doesn't value themselves, they're not gonna value somebody else who looks like them.
That's very true. We had to put signage up, and the signs are actually working because at the bottom I said, "Show you care." And I think that's the biggest difference. You could put no litter signs up,
Right.
but it's that last part that if you got anything working on the inside of you, you're gonna be like, you know what, I do need to care about my particular community. So we saw a difference, and now I got people asking me for the signs. But you're right. That's what I saw. That nobody cared. They
Nobody
just
care.
didn't care. And then you find all kind of trash everywhere, and we have to have these cleanups all the time. And then you come back the next day, and it's right back. I was like, no, we're not doing this. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. And so how do we change? What do
How
you
do we
have?
change this? We
Yeah.
gotta convince. This is something I put together, and I seen somebody do this in Houston, but we have to convince our people in a non-discriminatory way to
Hmm.
hey, y'all come back and live over here. If
That's
y'all don't want to live over here, won't y'all buy the property in these neighborhoods and just hold them and just don't drive up the rent, which I understand it's the free market. So if like the average two-bedroom in Charlotte, I believe is at 1,700, this area may get like 13, 14 for a two-bedroom area. But I just think that if we can convince people to come in, take pride in an ideal situation to live in this neighborhood,
hmm
because homeowners take care of their properties. And if we can convince them to do that, I think that's a great way to slow it down and keep the pride in the community. Because without a community, without education, it ain't gonna go very far. And that's why that majority of these neighborhoods in Charlotte are where they are, because you have people that are just content. So I'm not gonna say the particular neighborhood. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, but you had the mega church pastor move in his neighborhood of Charlotte. He moved in.
hmm
What did he do when he moved in? He convinced his followers to buy houses in this area. Now he doing this while it's still hood. And then what they would do is come with these Bibles, talk to people in the community, etc. Now you go around there, you can barely see black people around there.
Wow.
I just think that his in those houses are like 700 to $1 million now.
Mm.
Whereas they were at one point $20,000, $30,000. But what he did, he built his house in there first. Big square, what probably 2,000 something square foot house, a garage with living space on top, and he moved in the neighborhood, and he convinced his followers who were not black to move in the neighborhood and own. Why are we not doing the same thing? Like, why are we not saying, hey, listen, there's a neighborhood over here. I want y'all to come. and move in here. And but what he did was some of these people that live in this neighborhood now, and that if they got in when he got in, they got 200, 300, $400,000 worth of equity in their properties now.
Hmm.
And meanwhile, you have the black people who grew up in that area. They can't even afford to rent in there no more, let alone buy. They can't even afford to rent in there. They got to move to Salisbury somewhere. So the education just has to be there, and it's not that. And I hate this stereotype that black people are uneducated. Let's if you go, I'm 42. If you go one generation up, my mother and father, they both got their full rights in 1968. My father was 18. Mother was wait no my mother was 20. Father was 18. So their whole life, and they were discriminated against. And then what happened after civil rights? What happened after that? Well, you had to deal with redlining. They had to deal with the war on drugs. So that generation was trying to survive.
Hmm.
They didn't get to talk about wealth and finances at the kitchen table. You can't. It's hard to talk about that stuff when you walk outside and there's dogs chasing you and things of that.
That's true.
It's just hard to
Right.
to focus on that. You're trying to survive. It was just to paint this picture. It was so bad. JFK was working with Martin Luther King. He ended up getting killed in 1960.
Hmm.
So
That's right.
that's how rough. So you can't really blame the generation up. You can't blame it. It's just going forward. Hey, listen, let me put myself in position. Charlotte has a lot of programs available to
Right.
help people buy homes. It's just that you have to want to do it.
That's true. That's very true. Even in such a time as this, and we know that funding is tight and this, but there are still so many programs that you could go through to get educated. And what we'll do is provide some of those links to some of the resources that are available through the city and the county. But I do want to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding that this real estate is real.
It's very real
It's very real,
and
and
very rewarding. For the
very, yeah. There you
very
go.
rewarding if you're willing to stay in it.
That's right.
Yeah, it's
So,
rewarding.
young people, please listen to this gentleman. My two are always asking and wanting to figure out how to make money. I was like, guys, it's in the real estate. I had an investment property years ago, and it was great. What going through a divorce and all that, it kind of changed. You see the face, changing some things up on you. But even with being here in this amazing space, I want this spot to be here for forever, and then to be able to educate those in the community to duplicate. This is our first stop. This won't be our last stop. So we're gonna duplicate, what has been done here. So in the last little bit, what could you share with us that would be so impactful for all that will watch this podcast or listen to this podcast? What should they take and be able to go forth and allow to just replay in their head every single day that you could leave with them?
Nothing will never be perfect. So just get started. Educate yourself and get started. I got started in real estate investing in the worst economy since the Great Depression. And I also graduated from school there. It was so bad at that time that the jobs had the upper hand, meaning that the jobs can pay $10, $12 an hour. It wasn't a lot of jobs out there that would pay salary because everybody they had the upper hand. The talent needed the jobs. Fast forward to today, yeah, we're going through a little something, but you can like the young people today don't have to settle for a 12 $14 hour job. They can go to the Uber apps and all the other courier apps and these apps and all that.
Hmm.
The I think that what you need to do is stop listening to everybody and about real estate because I know how it is growing up in my community. Oh, you gotta have credit. You gotta be rich. You gotta have 30,000. That's not true. Even in today's market, there a realtor posted not too long ago how somebody bought a house and they came out of pocket $700. You know, you just have to put yourself in a position stable to afford the house. You don't have to invest, but at least at bare minimum, this is what I tell the young people: just buy your home, man. That's all you have to do, and to try to buy it in a house that buy it in an area that's pre-gentrification, meaning that the progress is coming up the road. Charlotte is not going to stop growing. All right, it's not going to stop. Jobs are still going to come here. It's a beautiful city. So, with that being said, I just think that you should buy a home. Look into NACA.com. Look into the programs that Bank of America got. Charlotte has a down payment program because now is the time that you can go to a seller and negotiate the price and get closing costs paid for. When the market flips and it becomes a seller's market, if you have these programs from the city, people are not going to want to work with them because they go through a lot of hoops, closings get delayed, and you're not going to be able to ask for closing costs or discounts on properties because it's going to be a seller's market. So at bare minimum, buy your primary house. And Charlotte has what's called a vision map. Right now, the 2040 is map, meaning that what Charlotte's going to look at 2040, and you could Google this,
Yep.
but look at the 2030 Charlotte map. Look at some of these areas and say, wait, they plan to do that in 5 years? Okay, let me go buy a house in this particular area and hold on to that.
That's good advice.
Are you familiar with Graham Heights?
Graham Heights.
Off of Graham Street.
I don't know that it's called Graham Heights. Is this
It's literally
new?
called Graham Heights. It's a subdivision. It's not, no, it's an old subdivision. Old subdivision.
Okay.
But,
Never heard of it,
okay, so Graham Heights.
but I do know where Graham is.
I'm gonna leave you with this. I bought a house in Graham Heights when it was hood for $1,000. That's all the person wanted was $1,000. They just wanted to be done with the property and me take care of the taxes. That's it. They said, "Yo, listen, I'm done. We can't just give me $1,000 for it. It's yours." And I said, "Where you live at?" Went, got the house. I still own the house today. Today, the dirt is worth $250,000.
Wow.
Just the dirt. All right, and this was a predominantly black neighborhood. I would go about say 98, 99%. Um, it- pe- Look, white people did not want to even touch it over there. That stuff at that time when I had got this property. But I got in. I got in low. It's like getting Amazon before it goes public. I got in low. I seen the vision. Like, hey, this is right near downtown. Eventually, this is going to change like that neighborhood, Villa Heights, what locals will call it North Charlotte. Let me just hold on to this. And it happened a lot sooner than I thought it was going to happen, but it happened. So my advice to buy real estate and wait. You wanna have real estate. No job gives you a $250,000 increase.
That's true.
All right. So I would like to leave you with that advice. Just at least buy your primary residence.
Awesome, awesome advice. I know you teach classes, right? You teach
Yes, I do
this.
teach classes how to get into real estate, and specifically, I teach wholesaling houses. So with wholesaling houses, it allows you to get in with no money and no credit, and this is what really transformed my real estate career. And I was able to put money in the bank and whatever. I wish I would have kept the houses in this area. I did have one on Williamson. I used to own 559 Williamson. I used to own that, and I sold it after about 2 years. Unfortunately, I let the tenants get the best of me. So I was like, man, I gotta get out of this neighborhood. This neighborhood's gone. You know what I'm saying? But
Right
unfortunately,
here, yo.
I sold it. But yeah, and now a renovated house over here, you're looking at 300K.
Yes.
So and these houses ain't big, gigantic houses.
No, they are not.
So yeah, I wish I would have kept that. But yeah, I got in wholesaling. That's the way I was able to learn how to find good deals and raise money to close deals and such. So yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it. And how do they get in touch with you if they
All platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. My most active, Real Estate Doru. Real estate, one word, Doru, Doru. You can Google that as well, and you'll see my socials. And yeah, just follow me, man. And if you like my stuff, maybe like a comment or comment sometime.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much for joining us today and being so insightful with this thing called real estate. It scares a lot of people, but just like you said, you don't have to have a ton of money. You just come and get educated and then move forward. And, I've heard you say it, buy back, the block.
Yeah.
Yes, let's buy it back. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, my name is Beverly Knox Davis, and we thank you for tuning in today with the A Brighter Day Outreach podcast. And you can, of course, check us out on all platforms as well. And reach out. We're always here. And if you'd like to be a guest, please, we'd love to have you to share whatever insight that you would like with the people. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again soon.